Let's go to the microscope and chase the fix.
Okay, so here is our device. This is where the charging port sits. As you can see, the charging port tore these pads right here for ground. And then you have two ground pads here and here. Let me show you why they didn't use these ground pads to hold this port in. This is the back side of the connector where it mounts to the motherboard. As you can see, there's no metal here to solder to on this side either. Now I'm going to bring in the port that is actually going to work for this, that they should have put in from factory to begin with. This port, you can see, you can actually solder to the bottom pads because it will fit flush on those pads. My guess is that the company probably got a really good deal on these particular USB ports and probably just went with them instead of these. I mean, less metal, probably less money, right? So we'll get rid of this port and we're gonna use this one. We're gonna add some flux to these pads here because these pads are what connects the port to the motherboard. I'm gonna take a little bit of solder and put it on my iron here. We're gonna just touch these pads here. Try to get rid of that old solder. Perfect. How about we clean them up with a little bit of wick too? Perfect. Even better. Alright, so let's solder in this connector. The good thing here is that even though this pad ripped, I can still add solder right here, and since we're going to be using this back ground pad, we can actually reinforce this connector and make it even better than what came out of the factory. So let's get this port soldered in. Add a little bit of flux here. Add a little bit of solder to our iron, and we're just going to flow these pins here. Clear my iron so we can clear that little solder bridge right there. There we go. Perfect. Next, I'm going to add some flux here to the ground pads that we're going to use that they should have used from factory. Add some heat here. Flow it with solder. Perfect. Now the other side. Amazing. Alright, so I'm not going to be able to get to this area with that chisel tip, so I'm going to use a conical tip for this one. Put a little bit of flux on each side. Flux helps that solder flow. Add a little bit of solder to our iron. A little bit of solder to the pad. The key here is you don't want to add too much solder because you don't want the solder to flow into the port. That would destroy it, and then it would be really bad. Perfect. If you like this video so far, smash that like button. And if you're not subscribed, check that box below and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future uploads. And let's do our other side here. Last but not least, let's add some isopropyl alcohol to this port. And we're going to just clean it off. Alright, so here is our USB connector. I mean, look at those joints there. Those joints look amazing. Obviously, this is hand soldered, so it will be better than what came out of the factory. Let's get this device back together and we'll test it. Alright, so I have the device here. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. Perfect. And I have the USB amp meter here. It's 5 volts, and let's go ahead and plug it in. And, of course, it's charging at 0.42 amps. Which I would say is normal because of the size of the battery. And we have a charging light. Let's fix more company mistakes in the next video. I'll see you guys.